What's up, everybody? It's Todd here with Passages. I'm here with the director of the Why the Nativity film, which is a production that Turning Point Ministries is putting on, where it's bringing the Nativity story to life here in the 21st century. And so it's a really cool opportunity that we get to have to kind of walk through the set today and just learn a little bit more about what went into the production and how that ties into the biblical account of the Nativity. So we're excited to jump into it.
Just when people needed hope, God would send a baby, a king, to offer a foretaste of a better future. But why? Why was a virgin chosen to be the mother of Jesus? Why would an earthly man be chosen to raise a baby sent from heaven? Why choose the lowliest of men to be the first to see the newborn king? Why did kings come from the east to worship the King of the Jews? Why Bethlehem? And perhaps the most important question, why should we care? And what should the baby in Bethlehem mean to me?
I'm David Jeremiah. Won't you journey back with me to a faraway place and to a time that might otherwise be forgotten?
This Christmas, travel back in time as we answer the mystery, the meaning, and the question, why the Nativity?
So we're here in Lakeside, California, where Turning Point Ministries has built an entire nativity set here to bring the nativity to life in 2022. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's like and then where we'll be able to watch this video, this movie that's coming out?
Dr. Jeremiah wrote a book called Why the Nativity. And really since he first wrote that, we've always wanted to bring that content to life, to really introduce the world to kind of a thought-provoking look at Jesus' birth and what it means. So a few years ago, we thought, well, during COVID, it'll be good just to kind of quietly build a nativity set. COVID will be over soon, and we'll have this film. Well, It's been 2.5 years worth of COVID. But we brought this, some great people in, all sorts of creative people, some Christians, some from the professional world, like Imagineers, a few of them. And we created a whole backlot of Bethlehem and Nazareth, including the cave where we actually have the nativity.
What's really cool about this is it's bringing the nativity to life and the reality and the impact that it had in people's lives, like as it happened. Right. Because a lot of times you think of the nativity and you're like, oh, that's a nice Christmas story. Or you see the nativity out in front of people's houses during Christmas and it's like a thematic kind of event that we all tell the story and we read it on Christmas, but this is here to bring it to life, to show like this affected like obviously the people that were alive when it happened, but it still has an impact that's just as important on us today. And so what kind of research went into like figuring out what these people's lives were like when they were living in this time?
Yeah, we did a lot of research, and we first researched what Bethlehem was like during that time. It's the city of David. David lived there years before, though it was a quite small town. Rome was involved, China was involved, believe it or not. Africa's involved with the story, Persia. So we just researched all the different stories from all the different parts of the world about this one event, including the historicity of the way things looked and a lot went into this, including probably even biblically what we know about the Nativity and what tradition has kind of told us about the Nativity.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the innkeeper. There was never an innkeeper in the Bible. They never said there was an innkeeper, but there was no room at the inn. So we've kind of created that kind of tradition.
Yeah.
So some of the question marks in the Nativity has given us wiggle room to create other characters and bring other people in so we could make it more personal, more relatable to us in this century.
As I was reading through Why the Nativity, it answers, 20-something questions about the Nativity that Bible might not very clearly state or that we're not familiar with from the traditional Nativity story. Things about the wise men, the shepherds, all those types of things. So you get to create this and kind of show, the story is important, but it's the message of the story. It's how the world was changed through the birth of Jesus, how it affected people in their lives and how it affects us. And so how did you kind of tie that together? I know that you talked about how you're showing things like Zacchaeus as he was a boy, or the woman at the well, and how they ended up being influential characters in the Bible and people that Jesus actually interacted with. And so it kind of like is a foreshadowing there. So what was the idea behind that?
Our thought was, why retell the Christmas story if it's just the same 5 characters, Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and 3 kings, though they are important and though they are central. But what else, who else would experience this? Or what are the challenges that these particular characters had in the story? So we created more story. We know a little about Joseph. The Bible only says he was a carpenter. That's it.
Right.
And we never hear from him again after this. So we were able to create more of a story about a young guy named Joseph who was in love with a girl named Mary, who was favored by God. And that's all we really know about Mary.
Right.
And favor in the Bible means that God showed grace to her. So we could create a story around them like we wanted to. So first of all, they're probably 2 kids in love, probably very obedient to God, and brought up the challenge of would we do that today? Would you do that today?
Yeah, exactly.
God called you to do something that's way beyond your scope of planning and no one else would understand. Would you do that? So we created a lot of those with why did the shepherds be so bold to come into Bethlehem right away when they were not allowed to really be in the city? Where did the kings come from and who would they have traveled with? The night Jesus is born and the star passes over that whole region. Different people witness that star, and it's Simon, Peter, and Andrew as kids, and Zacchaeus as a child, and the woman at the well. Some foreshadowing of things to come, because we want our story to not only really focus on the night of Christmas, but the beginning of the mission that Jesus will have in his life to change life.
Yeah, the overall impact that the Nativity ends up having. No, definitely. One thing that I was thinking about that is just really cool is it brings it, with the story, like you said, we have very little information about Mary and Joseph and some of the other characters. They're mentioned, maybe a couple characteristics, and then it moves on throughout the story. What this does, I feel, is it really brings a lot of relatability to the different characters and makes us understand, there were some things that Mary or Joseph or Zacchaeus or the shepherds had to go through. There may have been some struggles or really things that they had to process that bring this story so much more to life. And similar things that we struggle with or that we might be going through. One of the biggest stories about the Nativity is all of the internal struggles Joseph was probably going through, with the whole idea of Mary getting pregnant with the virgin birth and what that would look like for him and the internal struggle that he would go with. And we can relate to that. We might not go through the same circumstance, but that would be hard for us to go through. And so it's really cool that something like this can kind of bring us together in that story. And some people might relate more to Mary or to Joseph or to any of the different characters. And so that's cool that story is able to be built through a set like this and that we're able to do that.
I think that's the important part of the Nativity story is it is about Jesus' birth and about God so loved the world he sent his son. but to see how God used people to prepare the way,
Right.
as he uses people after Christ's birth to prepare the way for his second coming.
Right.
And you look at Mary and Joseph, as you mentioned, and even after they returned from Bethlehem with the baby, they were still not looked on very, very fondly because
Right.
she got pregnant without being married. So though they understood that and they had the dream, no one else would understand that. It makes us think about today if God called us to do something
Yeah.
outside the box. No one understands. Will we do it? Will we push back? Will we say, no, God, I just felt like this is too much? In our story, we also have shepherds come right through the street at night after they see the angel, and they go right down the street to the manger. And they weren't allowed in the streets of the town. They were poor, kind of the lowliest of lowly. And so in the show, in the film, you see the shepherds walk right through here and are persecuted by the Romans, people throwing food at them, people yelling to get away. But in our story, we try to show that when you're a follower of Christ, it's not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
And you gotta be bold. So for them, it's all about risk. Take the risk to go through here, and people are going to, persecute us along the way, but we're followers of Christ. In our story, they're the first followers of Christ.
Yeah.
So will we do that today? Like if God asked us to do something, and said, this is where I want you to go, this is what I want you to do, what risks would we take to make that happen? It's a challenge for us.
No, definitely. And I think what's so cool about that is you get to see, okay, there are lessons in this story for us that we can take. Okay, like, would I be able to take those risks? What does that look like in my life today? And then you also have the overall story of Jesus and what he's done. And there's us and what we can do, but then there's the ultimate. It's like, okay, this is what Jesus did so that we're able to, step out in faith. We're able to take these risks because Jesus was born and lived the perfect life and ended up dying and raising again. So it's like, it all ties in together.
It's great because he doesn't ask us to do what he did.
Right.
There's no one can come to the earth and be our savior. It's already been done. And there will only be one time where there'll be a virgin birth. So he's not asking us to do that.
Right.
What is our response to that?
Exactly. Yes,
our response is, all right, let me be inspired to bring you the gift of my life, like the kings would do. Like, I don't have gold or frankincense or myrrh. Maybe I have a candle in the house somewhere. But I don't have that. But what do I have? So he's not asking me to, travel 2 years. He's not asking me to, be a shepherd and fight my way through town to get there. He's just asking me to think about what I have, and he's done the work.
Yeah.
He just compels me to share with the kingdom, or go out and tell everyone that I meet about Jesus, or whatever action he gave to all these characters in the manger. There was something he asked each to do. What is that with me? I hope this show would kind of be like, okay, it's your turn. What do you do?
No, that's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Paul, for coming and doing this. I'm excited to see the film and be able to tie in all those things that kind of we talked about. But I hope you guys are able to watch it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please like, comment, subscribe if you have any thoughts or comments. Thank you.